Welcome back. Again, before I start, some random information. Shirt I'm wearing, CSUB, Go Roadrunners. That's actually the school that my wife went to. In case y'all were wondering, like, what is it? Also, working on finishing this book, all about Walt Disney. It's quite a lot of information, and yes, as seen on TV. But anyway, let's get to the meat of the content, all about economic systems. You cannot have industrial revolution without the economic system that the systems we're going to talk about. They play an influential role in the 1700s and ever since. They're massively important to literally everything. So today we're going to talk about identifying them, as well as some differences between capitalism and socialism. If I keep looking this way, all my notes are over here, so try not to be all confused about that. But before you have capitalism versus socialism, you had mercantilism. This is a really old school system. It is not. It's really not used anymore. As a because it's basically just insanely controlled, heavily regulated. The government is in charge of it, and basically you have trade between colonies, and this trade is to benefit the home nation. The home nation being the one in charge. So, like, if we're talking about mercantilism in the pre 1750s, we're talking like let's take Britain, a great example. Everything that the colonies does is supposed to benefit Britain. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to benefit the colony. It benefits Britain. So all the stuff that's produced in the colonies, in the 13 colonies, the 13 original colonies, those are going to be beneficial to Britain. Doesn't matter if they come out short end of the stick. As long as Britain gets the benefit, excellent. So it's not really used anymore, and it's kind of restricts freedom on individual level. Um, so moving on to the big one that plays probably the most important role, because without capitalism you do not have the industrial revolution. It is influential on society and technology. It is one of, if not the main cause of the industrial revolution. Like, obviously we've talked about iron, and we've talked about coal and transportation and farming, but those all stem from the idea of you need money to invest. And how do you get the money to invest? Well, you have what this gentleman, Adam Smith, argues is you have economic freedom. You have laissez faire capitalism. Laissez faire is just a fancy French word of basically saying let it be. It's like the Beatles, just let it be. Let it be capitalism. And that means a free market. That means whatever the individual wants to do, the individual should do. Because at the end of the day, if said individual is going about it saying, hey, I want to make the best amount of money for me, what society need? So, like, let's say coats raincoats don't exist, right? We're in Seattle ish. It rains here on occasion from what I've seen. um if raincoats don't exist, someone's going to come out there and go, okay, what can I do to sell you in order to make some money? Well, I know everyone needs raincoats, so if I'm in it for my own self-interest, I'm going to go out and create something. I'm going to create a raincoat that you will need. I will sell it, but if you need it and you buy it, it's going to make me better. It also is going to make society better. So it's not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we can expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own self-interest. So as long as if you're looking out for yourself, you're going to create something that betters society. Okay, so that's kind of confusing, but essentially what it means is you have this idea that being interest following your own pursuits for your own self-interest, for money, or is going to better society, because if you have competition, it's going to drive price down. It's going to create more product for people. That's the entire idea of your well, it's your entire capitalistic idea. Um, it is privately owned. It is government. Do not interfere. Do not get involved with this. Let people do what they wants to do. Okay. Let me compete for my money. Let me compete for my property. Let me get my own freedom. I want my freedom. That's what capitalism is. It's all about that economic privateness, for lack of a better word. It's about businesses conducting without the the overarching fingers of government dabbling their their tentacles in everything. It's get rid of that. Okay, that's what essentially it is. And capitalism is not like one vein of capitalism. Laissez-faire basically means get rid of all government. You can have like a little bit of regulated capitalism. You could have more strict capitalism. It's not like a one size fits all. It's not like you can buy one shoe and it fits every single person, right? There's different sizes. What this is the beginning of capitalism. So the argument is completely no government interference at all. And again, this is Adam Smith. He wrote the most influential of books about economic systems in the history of the world. I would say that's an opinion, but I would say most opinions probably align with that. It's called The Wealth of Nations. It's really good. It's really interesting. Um, it challenges your back to mercantilism. It really challenges this. It is a way to pursue or to progress society. Again, if you have any questions with this is my bread and butter. This is what I know. So if I'm going too quickly, you could always rewatch the video. So that's always a good one. Or send me questions and I'll make Q&As on this. I'm trying not to go too deep into any of these economic systems. I'm trying not to go too crazy with it because I will, and I very much enjoy it. So let's move on. So Adam Smith lived in the 1700s. He didn't make it out of the 1700s. As a result, so this gentleman here from Prussia, his name's Karl Marx. He wants to counter. His ideas are straight up a counter of Adam Smith, and what he is saying is basically the economic system should not be left to its own accord. It shouldn't only have one, like it shouldn't just be you doing what you want to do because you want to do it because you think it's going to make you money and that will help society. What he's saying is it needs to be regulated. You need to have taxes. Capitalism's like we don't want taxes. Reduction of taxes. You tax us more. We can't invest in our business. We can't help the economy. He's like, no, you need taxes. You need to tax businesses. You need to regulate them. You need to create public services. You need all these different things. And he's advocating that he's not advocating socialism or socialism. He's not advocating communism. Sorry, he's not advocating like everything's owned by government. Only government's involved with it. There's no private anything. No, he's just saying a little bit more of like you need government intervention. You need to have laws in place to reduce people getting injured in the workplace, and you need basic rights for the people that are working in the system. He is one of his quotes is let the ruling classes tremble at a communist revolution. The proletariats have nothing to lose but their chains and have a world to win. Working of all countries unite. Working men of all countries unite. So very different. Like we're talking Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman. We're talking Celtics versus Lakers. Like they're very opposing. It's like an acid and a base. It's I can't even think of another analogy. It's like Vine versus TikTok. Like the people had like it's one side or the other, right? And when he's saying that, he's saying the workers are the ones making all the product. Why is it that they're not getting any of the benefit? Get rid of the owners. Let the proletariats, let the people, the working people, be in charge. Okay, so he's very different. He's a direct fight. Like if you put him and Adam Smith in a cage, man, they duke it out. Okay, and he thinks it's straight up because capitalism failed. He thinks capitalism doesn't work. Don't look at any of the things. Don't look at this industrial revolution. That's all bad. You need to have government intervention. Government can fix it. And Adam Smith would say, no, look at everything that's done. It's done steam engine. It's increased the waterways. It's increased all this and this, and some of the other stuff that's happened is just a negative side effect, so to speak. So these are the two main players. And these are some of the big things that they're arguing for. Like Karl Marx, like get rid of private property for the most part, like not 100% government control, but get rid of private property. That looks a little different depending on the country, but and he's also saying that history is defined by your class struggle. So class struggle, not like freshmen versus sophomores. No. We're talking classes as in like the upper class in terms of like wealthy, the elites, the haves versus the have-nots, the lower class, the working people, your regular workers that are in laboring, the farmers, right, that came in from the rural areas. Rural. You sure? The rural areas, they're like those people that are coming in, they're laborers working in factories. They're the ones that should get the benefit, not the people that are invested their own money, right, and took the risk. That's not what he's saying. So, right on the other hand, you have, like I said, Adam Smith, Wealth in Nations. You have the invisible hand, and this one's dope. I love the invisible hand. Okay, so here we go. So your invisible hand is it's basically, how do I put this? Like, supply versus demand, right? So again, using Seattle for reference, let's say there was no raincoats anywhere, so the supply is zero. If there's no supply and it's raining outside, the demand is going to be skyrocketing. So that's driving the economy, right? The prices of raincoats are really high. You want one. So as you buy raincoats and the supply is here, the demand is here. As you buy raincoats, the demand is rising, or the demand is falling, and then you get to a point where demand and supply are probably equal, right? So as you buy more and more raincoats, more people have raincoats, they don't have to keep buying them. So your demand is decreasing, and if the supply is still the same, right? If and demand is decreasing, the price of raincoats is going to decrease. So essentially, the invisible hand is saying this is driving the market. You have forces on the market. Okay? Again, these are kind of complicated. This is like 200 level economics in college that you get this. So if you're a little confused, rewatch it and then send me questions. But as long as you have this invisible hand playing a role into the market, it's going to drive the economy. So if you have a lot of need for raincoats will be produced and people will have access to them. If it's sunny and it doesn't rain and you have a ton of raincoats, well, no one's going to buy it. So someone's going to, instead of investing in raincoats, they're going to go invest in sunscreen, and they're going to produce sunscreen because that's what society needs. So that's the whole invisible hand. And he's saying that if you have economic freedom, if you're allowed to pursue what you want to pursue, if you're allowed to invest in your ideas, and you're allowed to invest in infrastructure to create and to produce, then the economy is gonna benefit. So again, Karl Marx, individualism isn't really a thing. It's more like government needs to be involved with some taxes. And Smith is like, no, we need competition. We need individualism. We need to get government out of there. Okay. So there are the two big things. Those are your economic systems that are really coming out of this, and they'll play a role from here on out. Like when we're talking about when we get into like World War One, World War Two. Well, we won't get into World War Two, but World War Two is very much the outcome of World War II is very much an economics outcome. So anyway, that's it for this video. Pretty brief, in my opinion, pretty brief. I tried to be concise with all my analogies and whatnot, but if it was a little too convoluted, or y'all are like, Mr. Hicks, you don't make any sense, again, send me your questions and let me know, and then I can make a Q&A. I can make like slides and answer questions as we go. So, and with that, Uh, just like Richard Nixon, I'm out.